Welcome back. This is Jack, and this is the latest episode of 360 Watch Reviews. Today I'm going to be reviewing the most anticipated, most popular and sought after Rolex watch in the world currently at the moment. This is the Rolex 50th Anniversary Sea Dweller, reference 126600. I'll begin with a tour of the outside of the watch, then I will talk about the movement. I will then go on to the positives and the negatives and finish off with a wrist shot. Okay, in no particular order, but I will start off with the most obvious change to the latest Sea Dweller. It's the Cyclops. Now, no Sea Dweller before has ever had the date magnifier right here, the 3 o'clock position. And it's obviously caused some controversy because there are many who absolutely detest it, and there are those who actually quite like it. Let's face it, if you're a Rolex fan, you're no stranger to the addition of a magnifier on the professional range, otherwise known as sport range. But they never did it with the Sea Dweller. And apparently, according to Rolex, it was because it was impossible back in the day to put one on there due to the thickness of the sapphire crystal. It was also to do with the pressure that the watch was under at the depths that this watch was designed to go to, and the adhesive that sticks the date magnifier to the actual sapphire crystal, because believe it or not, it is glued on with a very strong adhesive. Didn't exist either. So there were a combination of those three things that made it so Rolex couldn't put a date magnifier on the Sea Dweller. But it actually came as a positive when it comes to this model of watch, because it was a cleaner dial because of it. It definitely distinguished it between itself and the Submariner, because obviously they are quite similar. And it became, synonymous actually with the Sea Dweller range, that it didn't have a date window. So we'll come on to what I think about that on a personal level towards the end of the review. I'll try not to forget. But yeah, first time that it's been put on there, so we'll come back to that. Of course, the depth rating has not changed. It is still 1,220 meters water resistant, otherwise 4,000 feet. As you can see, the superlative chronometer, officially certified print just below the depth rating on the dial, points out the fact that this watch has gone under Rolex's own testing when it comes to quality control and the standards that they set themselves. So not only is this COSC certified, Rolex have also put their own stamp on it with the superlative chronometer. So what that means is this will lose -2 to +2 seconds a day, which is pretty substantial. A very, very accurate movement. That's a fantastic achievement for Rolex, and that is exactly what that means. So we have a maxi dial, otherwise known as the the enlarged applied hour markers on the dial. If I can just come up close just to show what I'm talking about. You can kind of see it there. I apologise about the camera, but the applied hour markers are nice and large, much larger than the predecessors from the 16600 models and before that. Of course, we had the Sea Dweller 4000, which only ran for 2 years prior to this one, and that also had the maxi dial, as does the Deep Sea. So very, very clear. Rolex use chroma lights, which is their own luminescent substance that they've created in-house, which is what's applied to the hour markers and of course the hands and the second hand and of course the pip on the bezel. It glows a beautiful blue, which is the last colour that fades on the spectrum underwater. So again, a very good nod to the fact that they have left absolutely nothing out when it comes to making this a superior diving model to any of its competition. Because a lot of Super Lupinova out there glows green. Rolex use a blue one, and it's their own one, which is great. Not much to say about the hour, minute and second hands. Rolex don't tend to change this design, which is great because they've been using it for years, and why change? One thing that Rolex is very well known for is they do not like change. Most of their models have slight differences in them. The overall design stays the same. And of course, that draws my attention to the fact that it is an oyster case. Absolutely superior in water tightness, which is where it gets its name from. and this is obviously a maxi case. The only difference being is that the lugs, the end pieces, solid end pieces on these, as you can see, this center one here juts right out to the very end, making it a little bit more substantial, giving it a bit more heft and increasing the diameter of the watch going that way. And I think that's fantastic, because this then builds into this beautiful oyster bracelet, which they have dramatically improved upon from the deep sea. Criticism of the deep sea was that the bracelet was just very unsubstantial compared to the tuna can worth of case that it had on it. Yeah, sorry for those fans out there of the deep sea. It's a tremendous watch, don't get me wrong. It's just, I think we can all agree that the proportions of that watch in case versus bracelet wasn't great, and Rolex have absolutely smashed it on the 50th anniversary, because it tapers beautifully, very well in proportion with the 43mm case size. And how could I forget? The 43mm case size, 43mm case size is a first for Rolex. And I was, if I'm being honest, without coming onto the criticisms too much early on, I was very dubious of the case size when I first heard of it. I was like, you know, what have Rolex done? 40mm was perfect. Why have they gone 43? You know, it's just another deep sea is kind of what I was thinking. But it really isn't. It hasn't got the heft of a deep sea. I don't know the exact measurements, but yes, it's thicker. It's a lot thicker than the Submariner. You can see that it does jut out at the bottom. But actually, when you think about how deep this watch can dive, and what's inside it, it really isn't that thick. I mean, I'll show you on the wrist later on. You've got nothing to worry about with the 43mm size, all right? I love 40mm, okay? Huge fan of what they were doing before. With the maxi cases, they fattened out the lugs so that the watch wore bigger. And I absolutely loved it. But this is spot on. And that's, you could call it a personal preference. I would say do not judge this watch on its case size until you have tried it on, because believe me, it wears very proportionate to my wrist, and I'll show you exactly what I mean when I put it on the wrist at the end. So yeah, I love the case depth. I mean, come on, this is a absolutely superb example of a dive piece, right up there in the top 3 perhaps on the planet, that has this capability. And as I said, Rolex haven't left anything out. So the bezel, if you can hear that, has a lovely smoothness to it. It is just, I would describe it as, well, extremely functional, shall we say. 60-minute graduation on the outside of the bezel, as you can see. It's about 120 clicks, but it's just effortless without being too fluid. Again, why not just use the P word? It's perfect, okay? I'm going to say it. The bezel is perfect. It's made of Cerachrom, which is Rolex's in-house ceramic. Cera being ceramic, chrom meaning colour. Okay, this one's in black, but as we know, Rolex do some terrific examples of different coloured bezels. The blue-black, otherwise known as the Batman, is a good example. And obviously they have toyed around with the Pepsi bezel on the GMT Master 2, which they haven't quite perfected yet, because Rolex struggle to make the colours red and blue when it comes to bezels, and they haven't quite mastered that with the other colours, but they get the colour black absolutely perfect. And you know, you wouldn't want any other colour but a black bezel on a dive watch anyway. But yeah, it's PVD coated with a very, very thin layer of platinum. It's virtually scratch resistant is essentially what this is. It's not going to fade. It's not going to be affected by ultraviolet lights. Gone are the days of patina, really. The only patina a modern professional Rolex is going to get now is scratches and dents. The dial's not going to fade. The chromalite is going to last for a long time. You know, Rolex even boasts that the chromalite can last double the length of time to its previous luminescent substances. Which is great, and I don't have a lume test for you because it just comes out terrible in this room, but Google the lume shot of any professional Rolex with chromalite, including this one, and you will see what I mean. You can see it from distances of up to 15 feet and probably still be able to tell the time. It's that clear, okay? If I've missed anything on the dial, bezel, etc., I will come back to it. As you can see, we have a signed crown. The 3 dots meaning that this is a triplock crown. And I'm not going to insult your intelligence. You will know what a triplock crown is when it comes to a Rolex. It's on all their professional models. It's very, very efficient with water tightness, providing it's all screwed in. So I'm not going to go on too much with that. But let me draw your attention to the just how well the case on these have been cut out. I mean, Rolex have an incredible machine that engineers the cases for these watches, the Oyster case, and it is just phenomenal. The finishing is beautiful. You haven't so much got the overemphasized beveled edges anymore, which is a bit of a shame, but it's still very crisp. And again, you don't want to be polishing these too much. 904L steel is the most superior steel that can be used on a watch, and Rolex, I believe, are the only watch manufacturer that use it. Call it overkill. I say why not? It does factor into the price, obviously. These watches are not cheap. 904L steel is superior to 316 in corrosion resistance, basically. I'm not going to get too hung up on it. I'm not going to big it up more than it needs to be. It is the superior steel, it has to be said. Rolex use it, fantastic. Is there a huge difference between it and 316? With what we use these watches for, absolutely not. If I was to dip this and a 316L version into an acid, shall we say, the difference is going to be minimal. You know, it's an aerospace grade alloy is what it is, and yeah, they use it in the you know, for instruments within surgery. You know, certain scalpels and things like that are made of it. Yeah, I'm going to get off the subject of the metal. 904L steel, the best steel that could possibly be used on a watch, and Rolex use it. Okay. Yeah, the Oyster bracelet, we've talked about that already. We've got a very, very nice Oyster lock clasp. As you can see, you can just feel how precise it is. Absolutely secure with that lovely engineered Rolex crown right there. And it's very, very easy, very user-friendly to use. No more tinny stamped clasps. These are of much more solid construction to the pre-ceramic versions. Not a lot more I can say about that. They're just so much better design than they used to be. We have Rolex's glide lock function underneath the clasp here, which gives you 2mm micro adjustments up to a maximum of 20mm. And all it requires is a slight pull, and you can bring it up or down depending on where it needs to be for your wrist size. And then it just snaps back in place. Okay, absolutely brilliant. Here you have the other adjustment, the flip lock extension. Now I'm not going to fiddle too much around with this. Essentially a little bit of pressure here and a little bit of pressure underneath. You know, there's a little sign at the back that you can see that gives you a bit of a prompt on where to push, and by doing that this will flip out, and you have got a diver, another diver extension, which will be used to go over a wetsuit for when diving. I will never use it. I am not going to be taking this watch diving ever. There are dive computers for that. Yes, all of these features on here are designed to be able to go to extreme depths and to handle extreme situations underwater. Of course it could. This is the whole point of them. But we don't wear them for that. 99% of us are going to wear these in our normal day-to-day lives, and it is just great to know that this watch can take an absolute battering should it need to. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much what I can talk about on the bracelet. It would be an absolute insult to put this on a NATO. That's again a personal preference of mine. The bracelet is just absolutely superb. Don't offend the watch by putting it on a NATO or even rubber. It's just not going to do this watch justice. I know people put the deep sea on some of the Oyster Flex rubber bands, or you know, some of the ones that you can get on the internet. Yeah, don't do it. You've got a lovely bracelet here, you know, all screws. I mean, that's been the same for a little while now, but it's just all quality. And you're going to see what I mean when you see the differences in the size of the bracelet. You know, it is, you know, there's nothing to go wrong there at all. Okay, so I think we've covered just about everything on the outside. If I've missed anything, I will come back to it. Case back, what is nice about the Rolex Sea Dweller and the Deep Sea is that you do have some writing on the case backs. One of my gripes of Rolex is I've never liked their bland case backs. I don't mind that it's not a see-through case back. The movements still look quite industrial in my opinion. Yes, Rolex decorate them somewhat, but they're by no means stunning or overly decorated in appearance, shall we say. I've seen a lot better from the likes of Patek Philippe. Totally different league, I know. But it is nice that we've got a little bit of writing on the back there that, again, identifies it as being the Sea Dweller. As you can see, I've left the seal on the case back. I like to do that. Okay, now the movements. Finally, Rolex, who do not like change, with the exception of very little, have put a new movement inside this watch, the 3235, an in-house Rolex movement with a hell of a lot for your money. Now, let me just firstly go on to say the fact that they have finally increased the power reserve. We have a 70-hour power reserve in this now, and it's a bidirectional rotor inside, which will power it up more effectively. About time, Rolex, because you're well behind on the power reserve. You know, the likes of Breitling and Omega have been doing higher power reserves for quite some time now. So it's fantastic that they've finally done that. Now, we don't know how the 3235 is going to, you know, hold up to its predecessor, the 3135 movement, which has been running since 1988. The only difference is Rolex have added a few perks to the 3135 movement over the years with the likes of a parachrom hairspring, etc. But yeah, I have no doubts that this one's going to hold up just as good, if not better. You've got Paraflex shock absorbers, and you've got a Chronergy escapement, which is made of, I believe, nickel phosphorus, which is also anti-magnetic. And the best part of the anti-magnetic features on the Rolex movements, including this one, is the Paraflex hairspring. Now, the hairspring on the watch, if it's magnetized, will throw off the timing, and usually it'll have to go back to the manufacturer to be recalibrated. You can buy machines, little devices very cheaply off the internet to demagnetize your watch, but they're not always very effective. You're not going to have that problem with the 50th anniversary because, yeah, the anti-magnetic components inside are going to stop that from happening. I have it on good authority that you could hold a strong magnet to the case back of one of these, leave it there overnight, check it the next morning, and it won't have skipped a beat. I don't recommend trying this. I would just say keep away from magnetic fields if you can, but you're safe in the knowledge that if you do come across them, because they're everywhere in our day-to-day lives, this Rolex is going to be very unaffected. And I think all of their range now has the parachrom hairspring. So yeah, sorry, Paraflex parachrom. It's Paraflex shock absorbers, parachrom hairspring. So yeah, again, these are features of a Rolex movement only. And yeah, what else can I say? It's brilliant. Anti-magnetism is a big deal at the moment in the watch industry. Omega use silicone. They've been using that for quite some time now. So yeah, it's almost a competition of who can make the most efficient anti-magnetic watch, really. Not every part needs to be anti-magnetic, only the important parts, and Rolex have covered all those inside, which is great. What else? There will be some decoration obviously inside, but it is, again, nothing to sort of worry about. You're never going to see it, but you can. Rolex have a fantastic website now, which you can do a lot of research on this watch if you want to know a lot more details of the ins and outs of what makes the movement so spectacular. I recommend checking it out. Yeah, I think that kind of covers the basics of the movement, you know, the important parts anyway. You know, it's a mechanical movement. You're going to know all this, but make sure that you do your due diligence with all the other bits and pieces that goes into taking care of a mechanical watch. It's got an instantaneous date change now, so as soon as it hits midnight, the date will just straight away change. You haven't got so much of a problem anymore where you are in danger of damaging the movement when you try and change the date window in the first position of moving out the crown between the hours of 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. at night. Again, try and avoid them, can't hurt, but because of the instantaneous date change now, it doesn't, the movement's kind of covering itself when it comes to adjusting it in that time. Now, I think without drooling on a little bit too much, again, I keep repeating myself, but if I forget anything, I apologise, I will come back to it. Let's get some wrist shots in there, because I'm going over 20 minutes now on this watch, but it is a big deal. So there you have it on my wrist. And I couldn't find my tape measure, so apologies. One thing people keep asking me is, Jack, what's your wrist size? And I keep forgetting to measure it. And on this occasion I was going to, but I can't find my damn tape measure, so apologies. So I will put it in the description once I do that. But as you can see, does it look too big? Does it look overly substantial and too similar to the Deep Sea? I'll answer that. No, it's not. Rolex have gone all out here with this new 43mm case size, and they took a risk, don't get me wrong. Would have been safer to go for the 40mm, would have been a lot more true to the original, etc, etc. But look, it had to be different. This watch is the 50th anniversary Sea Dweller. They had to make some changes. So rather than complain about them, let's embrace them. And to be honest, you really can't complain too much until you've held one. And that is going to be difficult, I'm not going to lie. Everyone's going nuts at these watches at the moment, and some of the waiting lists are 30 to 50 people deep, and a lot of them are closing. Most authorised dealers will only sell now to people that they know, and you've really got to be lucky to get your hands on one. The good news is it's not been out long, but the rumours are that it's going to have a very, very short lifespan. If the Sea Dweller 4000 before this is anything to go by, we're talking 3 years, and I can't see them running this for longer than 3 years. It's 50th anniversary at the end of the day. The red letter version is not going to be around for very long. But good points and bad points. Well, I'll keep it on the wrist while I'm talking about these. Okay, Cyclops. Do I like it? Do I hate it? Do I love it? I'll be honest, it was the one thing that I would change about the 50th anniversary. I preferred the Sea Dweller without the date magnifier, otherwise known as a Cyclops. I was never a fan of the date Submariner because of it. I would always have gone for the no date. But look, it's on there, all right. I've made my peace with it. I'm starting to embrace it even. I just look at it as a feature that's not needed. Everyone can see up close with glasses or otherwise. The date magnifier is just not needed, and it was always nice that the Sea Dweller never had it. However, going back to my first point, they needed to make this watch a little bit different, and it's a talking point with those things I mentioned earlier. Why was it not on there in the first place? Okay, technology exists now that it can be, so make it a talking point, if anything. Case size I love, and again, I didn't appreciate that until I got the watch. So again, take my word on that. Do not panic about the 43mm case size. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Much, much better than the 44mm version of the Deep Sea. Trouble with the Deep Sea is the heft. I don't think it's so much the 44mm size. It's the heft of it versus the bracelet, which we've talked about already. Rolex have covered all that on this, so it's balanced. It's proportionate. It's a diving watch at the end of the day that delves as deep as 4,000 feet. It's got to be pretty hefty, but they've done it in a way that is extremely well thought out and balanced. So there's nothing more I've got to say on that other than it's a good thing. Other negatives. Really, I'm struggling, guys. I'm blown away by this watch. Everything that I thought there was negative about it has been disproved, quite honestly. I've talked about the Cyclops. I have missed out talking about the helium escape valve very, very, very quickly, because you're all going to know what a helium escape valve is by now. But Rolex patented this design back in 1967. Believe it or not, the Sea Dweller was not the first Rolex to have a helium escape valve. They trialled it on the Submariner prototypes. Obviously, when the Comex divers were having problems with the crystals popping off and exploding in the hyperbaric dive chamber, they needed to fix it. So Rolex got together with Comex and a team of specialists, and they designed the helium escape valve. And they put it on the submariners, and when the trial was successful underwater, they said, okay, we're not going to release these to the public, but we are going to design a watch that's going to have a helium escape valve on it. 1967, here we have the Sea Dweller, and that's where it all began. Helium atoms are much smaller than oxygen, and in a hyperbaric chamber coming up to the surface of the air again, 95% of the oxygen that divers are breathing is helium, and they can penetrate the watch case very easily. They can get past the seals, and that's what was causing the watch's sapphire to pop off, explode, if you will, which is what some of them did. The pressure just built up too much. Don't have that problem with the addition of this escape valve here. That is what it's designed to do. It filters out the helium atoms without damaging the integrity of the watch. Yeah, you're going to know what that is, but that's the helium escape valve. Can't believe I forgot about it. That's a big feature on the Sea Dweller. So yeah, another thing I missed is that there are a lot of patents when it comes to this watch, namely in the movement. But again, I will direct you to the Rolex website. It's very, very comprehensive on there, and it's going to answer all of your questions if I've missed a lot of them. But that is the main thing. Obviously, as we know, the Rolex serial number, I'm not going to show you mine, but the Rehorts, the inner chapter ring, I think it's called, inside this steel bit here with Rolex written on it. At the 6 o'clock position, you will find a serial number, and I love that about the more modern Rolex watches, is that you can see the serial number now at a glance. They used to be written between the lugs here, and I believe the model number is at the 12 o'clock between the lugs. I may have got that the wrong way around, but essentially in the past you had to take the damn bracelet off to see your model and serial number, but you don't have that problem anymore. The serial number is down here, which is great. I think, without running on too much now, because I've got you for 26 minutes, but hopefully that's given you, has answered some of your questions. There are not many reviews at the moment online which give you a decent look at the watch on the outside, and people always forget to do the wrist shot. But I think you've got a pretty good idea now if this watch is for you or not. I would say get yourself on a waiting list, find an authorized dealer that you know and trust, and if you really want one, you should be able to get one. There is still time. It's not a pretty situation out there. I was very, very lucky, okay? I would refrain, if you can, from comments regarding how do I get one of these. I can't really say much more than what I have done. Rolex are really drip feeding the production lines of these, if you will. They are not sending many out. They are sending them out in small batches. So of course the demand's just going to increase. That's what happens when you reduce supply, unfortunately. But we are still in the early days. This watch has not been out long. You know, the ink at Basel World is still fresh. So get yourself on a waiting list and be patient. If you want it, you will get it. Any questions, any concerns, put them in the comments at the bottom. Anything I could have done better, please let me know. I apologise for not telling you what my wrist size is. I haven't got the world's biggest wrist. It's somewhere in the middle. I know that doesn't help, but yeah. I'll finish it off then. One final look, as close up as I can get on this poor quality camera. The Rolex Sea Dweller 50th anniversary. In my opinion, the best dive watch I have ever had the privilege to own and wear on my wrist.